Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Michigan Student Aid Understanding Your Award Letter webinar. We're going to get started here this evening and begin with a quick overview. My name is Nick Messing. I'm the Northern Michigan Outreach Rep for Michigan Student Aid Programs. And this is the Understanding Your Award Letter webinar. So a quick overview. We're going to talk real quickly about question and answer, how to submit questions if you have one along the way. Reasons that we created the Understanding Your Award Letter resource. What is an award letter? What's it trying to say to you? Understanding Your Award Letter website tour. So we're actually going to get into our website and walk through just as a quick website tour so that you're aware of all the resources that are there and the tools that are there to help support you and the student making a good financial aid decision and choosing a college that's right financially. We're going to do some of the a live demo of a compare cost spreadsheet, and that is one of the tools on the website. And then we'll also have some time at the end for question and answers. You will have the ability to receive the slide deck and a video recording within the next 2 weeks. So you don't have to worry about taking too great of notes. You will get a copy of both the slides and the recording so that you can see any phone numbers, web addresses, and so forth on that recording and the slide deck when you receive it. So we ask that you please utilize the Q&A feature. There is a Q&A button. Do not use the chat button. No one is going to monitor the chat this evening, but we do have a few people behind the scenes from Michigan Student Aid ready to answer questions that you may submit there. So there were 3 priorities that led us at Michigan Student Aid to develop the new Understanding Your Award Letter tool. There's just too much information out there. That was one of the things that we have been seeing, talking with students, working with families. So we had a goal to give students and families a safe space and a trustworthy source of info that they could go to for some of the best tools and information on the website or out on the web for financial aid. Information overload. Families and students this time of the year, they're kind of overwhelmed in some regard with the amount of information, with the award letters coming at them, trying to make sense of those, and then websites that just have a lot of information, a lot of text to sift through to try to find answers. So in an effort to counteract the information overload, our goal was to present aid information in a short, easy to follow format. And then there's the award letter confusion that students sometimes experience. Award letters can look and feel a little different. They're formatted differently from the different schools. So we wanted to make an easy to use tool to better understand award letters that are being provided by the Michigan colleges and even out-of-state colleges. So those were the 3 goals and the priorities that led us to create the Understanding Your Award Letter website. So how do students receive award letters? These award letters are provided by each individual college's financial aid office after they've received the student's free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, each academic year. There's multiple ways that they are shared with the student. So the student may be receiving hard copies in the mail through regular snail mail, US mail. Students may be receiving this information through their college email account at each individual college, or they may be receiving them through the college's student portal. So they may only be notified that the student may be notified that they need to check their financial aid award letter through the student portal as a secure login way of viewing that. So there's different ways that colleges can share the award letter information. So what is an award letter? It's essentially a summary of the financial aid that the student is eligible for at that specific school. So each school financial aid office that receives the student's FAFSA application information, they're going to eventually prepare this summary of financial aid for what the student can receive and can opt into as far as like loans at that specific school. There is no standard format, but there are some similarities between them. Normally, they're going to include aid information from the federal government, the state of Michigan, and the institution or the college directly. Many, but not all, include estimated cost information. So that's where they do tend to vary how much of that cost information is included on the award letter. So while we're talking about costs to consider are either direct costs, which are billable by the university, which can include tuition, fees, room and food or meal plan. Those are things that the student will bill directly if the student is residing on campus, especially with the room and food or meal plan. Then there's also some other costs that are indirect. These can vary. They're variable or point of sale type of costs, but they're still school related. Books and supplies that are required, personal expenses, and transportation expenses. All things to keep in mind as we look at comparing cost compared to the student's financial aid, to know how much that student might need to come up with out of pocket through loans or through a payment plan of some sort. So understanding your award letter, let's spend a little time on the actual website together. And I'm going to take a tour through it and explore some of the tools and information that we're presenting there. So we're going to go out to michigan.gov, mistudentaid. And so from the My Student Aid webpage, there is a tab for students and families in this upper left corner. So under students and families, go to students and families page. And you're going to see a number of good links for students to follow. There are 6 main areas presented here, including links to our aid programs, scholarship best practices, the My Scholarship Search database. We encourage you to come back to that at some point and look at the scholarships from your particular county. Our flyers, student guide, and other publications, student loan resources, and then last but not least, our brand new Understanding Your Award Letter. So I'm going to go follow that link into the Understanding Your Award Letter page. Now, to start out, we didn't recreate the wheel on all this information. The good sources of financial aid information, whether it was in website, print, or text, or if it was a video, we tried to bring some of the best sources together into one spot. So you don't have to go through the web trying to find these resources. We tried to bring them together in one location, this web page. So Sally Mae had a very nice, well done, less than 2-minute video prepared that talks about how to read your financial aid award letter. So at some point, please take a couple minutes after the webinar and watch that video. It's going to talk about, you know, those costs that we just mentioned: tuition, fees, room, board, books and supplies, personal and transportation, taking those costs and comparing to what's being offered on the student's award letter summary and seeing if there's enough aid to cover those costs or if there's a gap in covering those costs, and different sources of aid that can come in to help the student close that gap. Now, we did create a new spreadsheet for the purposes of students trying to compare multiple colleges. We will do a demo of that at the very end. I wanted to save that as kind of the last step of this presentation. So we will return to this compare college spreadsheet, and we're going to walk through just a couple examples together, and then you can return to that spreadsheet and plug in your own information about cost and aid and see how that works out for the student financially and comparing costs and aid side by side at different schools. So it's a little more comparing apples to apples, because sometimes it feels like you're comparing apples to oranges with some of this information. There's also the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, this was a recommended resource. Several high schools recommended it. We looked into it. It's a question answer. It's a prompt-based online tool through the Federal Consumer Protection Bureau. it's going to ask questions about where the student wants to go, and it's going to pull in some estimated cost information from previous years. And then it's going to start asking some questions about family size and other aspects of the financial aid that's been offered. And it's going to prepare kind of an analysis for you, for the student. And it'll offer some suggestions about how to minimize borrowing and so forth. It's a nice tool, but it's a little more of an interactive tool. The earlier one, the compare cost, is a spreadsheet. So those that want more of an interactive experience can use that financial path to graduation link, and others that like a spreadsheet can use that one instead. Now, there's 4 general categories of aid that are presented to you on an award letter. There are grants and there are scholarships, and those are both considered gift aid. It's free money, it's gift to the student, so it's not expected to be repaid as a gift to the student. There's work study, which is employment-based earnings. The student can work and earn student payroll on a college campus and earn work study wages to help cover their expenses from semester to semester. And then there's loan options as well, federal and private both. So return to that if you'd like a little better idea about what those categories include. Then our effort to try to streamline and simplify resulted in this next section. And basically it's listed alphabetically right now. So you will see links for different aid sources. And so the very first one is aid directly funded by the college. So if you have a source of scholarship, say a merit or academic award, or a club or organizational scholarship, or a private donor scholarship that the school offered directly, then you can get to the school website using this link and go read about that particular award on their website, because that is school specific. But what we wanted to do was offer the federal aid and the state aid links to families and to students in a simple way that if a student sees a subsidized loan on their award letter, they can simply open that link, have a couple sentence summary of what that is about, and then always have a link offered to the official program page. And in this case, the federal aid sources are going to go out to the federal Department of Ed website when you follow those links. So you're still in a safe, secure location. You're getting good information by following, but we wanted to make it short and simple so the student was able to have the gist of the program, but always be able to link and drill down further into more program information as they needed it. So this is kind of like a relay hub for all of the state and federal aid programs, where you can get a little taste of what it is about and then go further to read more about it as you need to. So federal subsidized loan, unsubsidized loan are both out here. Those are going to frequently be on award letters. You're going to see some links as well for like federal student aid videos that are related. So if you see links here, then you can follow those and watch some of the FSA video series that they have on these programs as well. Parent loan, plus loan as an option. The information is here. Federal Pell, supplemental ed opportunity grant, all the are listed. Work study. And so if you see these on the award letter, you can easily click and expand, read about it very quickly, get the gist of it, watch a video if there's one available, and just keep moving forward to learn about the programs and resources offered to the student very quickly and easily. And then as we move through the list, you'll start to see Michigan sourced aid. So you're going to see the Michigan Future Educator Fellowship and stipend for teachers. So if you're looking at being a teacher, those will eventually be resources in the 3rd and 4th year of your education. And then you'll see Michigan Achievement Scholarship. That's a brand new one that you may have heard about. We're trying to get the word out about achievement, because this is going to affect nearly 80% of new students, new graduating class of 2023 students that are attending school in Michigan. So there are going to be a lot of students qualifying for the brand new Michigan Achievement Scholarship. And as you can see, we put just the gist of what the program is about. And then there's a link to the full program description and the page that has all of the resources for Michigan Achievement. So a really easy way to get an idea of what it is, and then to keep learning more as you drill down into those links if you choose to. You're going to see as I scroll the different funding sources, other aid sources through the state of Michigan. And so you may see some of these showing up on the award letter as well. We're going to load more because it only loads about 3/4 of them the first time. But you'll see TIP and others listed here. Those are very, very common. So you can, again, just that same option to read a brief summary and then drill down into links taking the student further into the program detail. And then in the end, you'll see, since it's alphabetical, private alternative loan, there at the very end, those are private loan options through private lenders the student may have access to with a cosigner. So you can always read about those, but we do not link to anywhere. We do not recommend any particular lender. That's normally a case where you would talk with the financial aid office at the school to find out what your best options are if you decide to go that loan route. But always make sure you check out all the federal loan options and compare those thoroughly first. And now, speaking of loan and thinking about loans, we did want to offer the student some resources to help them keep control and manage their loan debt right from the very beginning. And so one of the things that we really wanted a student to recognize was, if they're borrowing, how much income is going to be required to repay the loan that they're taking, or reversing that, if they have an idea of the career and the income potential that they have, how much loan amount is a relatively safe amount to take. A lot of students ask over the years, how much is too much? Well, this Debt Salary Wizard tool is a great tool to help the student kind of identify what their earnings potential is, and from that, realize how much is too much for that student with that earnings level. And so if they're going to be in a lower earnings career, this will help them recognize that they really need to be conservative and borrow as the least amount possible, and maybe find a less expensive option for school so that they can keep their loan debt down. Or if they're going to be in a higher income scenario for their career, then they may have more flexibility in borrowing, and also in selecting schools that may have a little higher cost. So that's a good step for students to take early on as freshmen, is to kind of get their head around knowing how much income and student loan debt are kind of interrelated, especially in that borrowing decision. There's a couple of videos here that talk about responsible borrowing, and these are the federal loan program focused. Responsible borrowing and repayment, trying to get a preview of what repayment looks like and repayment options are. And then we transition near the bottom of the page. We talk about more scholarship options. So perhaps a student has reached a point where they find, or they feel, that the gap is fairly significant between what their costs are going to be and what their aid is. Maybe they need to do a little more scholarship searching. So we've offered some links to scholarship search tips through Mapping Your Future, and our own webpage has scholarship best practices, so we're offering that again. The Michigan Scholarship Self-Service Tool, that's the one I pointed to earlier on our website, offering that again. There is a statewide directory available for Michigan community foundations, so don't ever overlook the Community Foundation Scholarship Program that's available to residents of your county here in Michigan. The statewide directory will allow you to search for your county and then go right into their website to find the scholarship application details, when it's made available, when the due date is. And those oftentimes are right around this time of the year. In February, March is normally the due date for the community foundation applications. So check those out soon if you haven't already. We have our guidebook called Affording College in Michigan. This is our kind of financial aid A through Z. It's got federal aid information, state aid information, checklists that are useful, that help a student kind of stay organized, going through researching and visiting colleges, asking the right questions during campus tours, and then also the financial aid process, having a checklist to stay organized on what to do next. Sometimes the challenge for students is just realizing what is next. What is the next step to do? There is a checklist in our Affording College in Michigan guidebook. If the student is looking to find some more lower cost options, other alternative options, they can again go to the Michigan Colleges link, and that's every financial aid office at every Michigan school offered there as a link. And so they can search and use the net price calculator on the school websites and see if they can identify some other alternative schools that might put them in a better financial scenario. We also offer some budgeting tools and also some general financial literacy tools for the student and for the families so that they can build a better budget to help that student and the student themselves help themselves keep their debt under control and manage their spending so that they can afford the college that they wish to attend. So that's just a quick overview of the website. I do want to spend a little bit of time. I think our webinar is probably going to end up being about 35 minutes in the end, once we get through this demo and then get into some question and answer time. But I'm going to guide us up here to the Michigan Student Aid Compare College Cost Spreadsheet. I thought this was definitely worth a demonstration. So when you click on that link, it offers a CVS file that you can open in whichever spreadsheet program you use, whether it's Excel or another type. And so it will open that CSV file in your spreadsheet program, and it's going to look similar to this. There are some fields here that you see little hyphens in. Those have formulas. And so those formulas are preset to do some math for us as we go through this. And I think we're going to compare a couple of colleges. Let's use a fictional student that's going to look at a community college that's local to them. Maybe they're going to look at a public college. And maybe they're going to look at a private college. And as they work through these, and I really don't need that fourth column, so I'm going to just hide that. This will still work just fine. And as we work through, we're just going to go through the different rows. So we're going to talk about and look for cost of attendance, both direct and indirect. So we need to build out what our costs and aid are going to be. So direct costs, so tuition and fees at most community colleges in Michigan, tuition and fees can range anywhere from, for full-time attendance, maybe close to 4,000 to 4,500 or so. So let's just kind of use a guesstimated 4,500. At the public college, it's going to probably be more in the range of, I'm just going to kind of think of a mid-level cost public college. So somewhere around about 15,000. And at a private college, let's say 30,000 for their tuition and fees for a year. And this is just, I'm trying to collect cost information from the materials you may have gotten from the school. And if it's not listed on the materials from the school, then you might have to dig into their website. And the website every college should have a page dedicated to their costs or to their charges. They might call it different things, but there's going to be a web page, and you can simply go out on their website for the college and do a quick search for costs or for tuition or something like that. And it should pop up that page that has all of these costs listed as public information. So you might have to do a little research on their website to find these if that's not easily available on the materials that they sent or even the award letter directly. Room and board. So our scenario here, our community college student or the community college option, maybe it's close enough. The student's going to commute and live with mom and dad, and they're not going to have room and board costs. They're living at home. But the other colleges, they are going to have room and board. And oftentimes room and board in Michigan is kind of up around the $11,000 to $12,000 range. We're going to stick with around 11. You may find, $10,000 options, but somewhere in that ballpark. So just kind of guesstimating some general numbers here tonight. So you can kind of see now our direct cost total in the community college school scenario, the public and the private are kind of coming together for us. We can see quite a difference amongst the three. But then as you look at the award letters, so we're gonna kind of keep filling this in together. Maybe the student has been offered some state of Michigan scholarships and grants. And so with our new program, and let me pull that up here, the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, that has some options for funding at different types of schools. So at a community college, it could be up to $2,750. So let's say they are a recipient of that at the community college. And then they are also looking at a public university, $5,500. So, oops, sorry. Michigan Achievement Scholarship could be up to $5,500 at a public university. And then we saw that Michigan Achievement is worth up to $4,000 at an independent college or university. But that $4,000 can also be in addition to the Michigan tuition grant if the student demonstrates need as well, and that's an additional $3,000. So could potentially have $7,000 there through the private college. Just scenarios and examples. This you're likely to see some of this on award letters out there. I'm just trying to do some of the examples using math to represent just some general common scenarios that we see. Federal grant programs, perhaps the student has not qualified for any grant programs, so they may not see anything there. And we can come back and kind of tweak that if we find that the student does qualify later. Institutional scholarships, they didn't receive anything from the school, from the institution at the community college. Perhaps they were offered $5,000 at the public school, and let's say they were offered 10 or let's say 12,000 at the private school as merit scholarship, something that the school itself is offering to the student if they enroll. And then other scholarships, that could be anything from community foundation scholarships to scholarships that the student received because they applied through their high school or through their high school counselors, anything external. A lot of times you don't see those early on in the process because a lot of those are yet to be announced. And a lot of students will find out if they're recipients of those, usually in like the month of April or May, typically May. But if a student finds out that maybe they're going to get $500 from the community foundation or from one of the high school scholarships that they applied for, then they'd have that $500 of other scholarship, regardless of where they attended. They could take it wherever they attend. So we can see the totals here in our first scenario for college one, community college. Total scholarships and grants, $3,250. The total direct cost was $4,500. That leaves that student still needing about $1,250. Then in the public college scenario, this one, that student needed about $26,000. They've got 11 in financial aid at this point, which leaves about $15,000 still remaining. And for the private college scenario, the student was looking at about $41,000 in cost. The student has total scholarships and grants of about $19,500, which would leave them needing about $21,500. So just so you can see the difference in cost amongst three types of institutions, the differences in aid as examples, and the total out-of-pocket direct cost to the student. What remains after we look at their direct costs minus their financial aid that can be applied to those costs. Now, we haven't talked about all of the costs yet or all of the aid options. And so I'm just going to scroll down here so we can work on the bottom half of the spreadsheet together. So books and supplies, typically we could estimate around 1,200 is pretty reasonable in books and supplies for a full school year on average. Transportation, if the student is commuting locally, they might have a couple $1,000s in transportation costs and gas and car maintenance and so forth. And now at a public or at a private school, they're not commuting, they're driving less, but maybe they're still having to drive a distance to get to and from that university. So let's say they're going to have about 1,200 as well in transportation costs getting to and from school when it's time on weekends or during breaks. So indirect costs we can see can vary and are really dependent upon the transportation needs of the student, the books required each semester. These are very variable costs. They can change every semester, they can change every year. We're just going to try to guesstimate something in the ballpark. So you're at least kind of thinking about it and preparing for those expenses. Now, we do know that every college freshman that completes a FAFSA application is offered the option to take up to $5,500 in federal direct loan. Now, that is an option. It is an option the student has access to if they need it. They can take any portion of it. They are not required to take all of it. And so as we can see following this through, that with the costs, subtracting the aid, and now also subtracting the loan that the student has been offered, let's assume they're going to take the full $5,500. That would put them in the following scenarios as a result. And so for the community college option, the student's total out of pocket, if they take the full loan, they would have an overpayment for the year of $1,050, meaning that their loan and their other aid was $1,050 more than what they needed to cover the cost charged by the community college. And the cost without loan would have been $4,450. So if the student can do work study and a payment plan and some other things, save and work and apply those earnings to their costs, then perhaps they could go without any loan. But we do know that the student could probably shave that loan back by at least $1,000 because they have $1,000 extra, unless they need it for some other related school expenses. So we've estimated some things up here, but if we've estimated maybe too low on something, then there could be those loan funds available. Let's follow through the center column here for that public college scenario. If $5,500 in loans is taken, then that brings the out-of-pocket with the student loan down to $11,900. If they do not take the student loan without loans, it'd be $17,400 remaining as needed through a payment plan or another option. And then the private school example, out of pocket with loan, $18,400, or without loan, $23,900. So you're just kind of seeing the effect of loan can have on the gap and how it can come in to help fill the gap partially. Now there are loan options for the student, that's that $5,500. There are also credit-based loan options for a parent to borrow. And then there's also the private loan options, as I mentioned earlier, through a private lender of the student's choice. It is credit-based, often needing a cosigner. So, but please know that there are also tuition payment plans available through schools. A lot of times there's work study earnings that can be used to help offset some of these costs, and so forth. So, or if some of these are really putting the student out of range for what they can want to assume for loan debt, or it's beyond their ability to do payment plans and other combinations of loan, then they may need to expand their school selection and look for another alternative or two that may have lower cost or more aid to offer. So just some different scenarios to play through, and hopefully that gave you a good sense of how to fill out a worksheet of your own using the award letters information that you've received, and then also being able to take any cost information from those award letters, plugging it in, or having to go to their website, the school's website, and plugging in any cost information that is found there. I'm gonna pause for just a minute and check in with those behind the scenes. I'm just gonna ask, Brittany, are there any themes to the questions that have been coming in during the webinar? Anything that we should talk about verbally?
Not necessarily. There's been some confusion with TIP being listed on award letters.
Okay.
If you want to highlight anything in regards to TIP specifically being listed on award letters, but other than that, most of it are things that you've covered.
Okay. Let me go back for just a minute to Michigan Student Aid, the students and families. Student aid programs is where I'm going to go this time, and I'm going to scroll down. Bear with me for just a minute. All of our programs have a dedicated web page on our website here, separate from the Understanding Your Award Letter, but you can get to these as well through that TIP link on that Understanding Your Award Letter page. But TIP has its own fact sheet here and full program details. But with TIP, you can pull this fact sheet. It's helpful to, it's a quick overview, description of the TIP program, how the student qualified. Schools will include TIP if the student is showing eligible, and the student can determine if they're eligible by either talking with their high school counselor. They can confirm that normally by looking in our student system, or the student can also check our student portal, which is right here. It is a link offered on the fact sheet that I have open. So if you go to michigan.gov/MISSG, if the student creates that portal, if needed, or if they already have one created, they just log in and they can see if TIP is listed as one of their eligible programs to be funded while they're in college. So the student can confirm if they're TIP eligible or not by going into the student's portal of MySSG, which is our student system for state aid. It'll talk about eligibility. It'll also talk about phase 1, phase 2, and all the schools that accept phase 1, all the schools that accept phase 2, indicated with a yes or a no. And so you can see the different institution options of the TIP program. And TIP essentially is a grant-based program. The focus of it puts a lot of the funding in the first 2 years to make sure the student has a very low or no cost option through a community college or through one of a few of the state schools in Michigan, where tuition and fees is almost fully covered. And so that allows the students other aid, perhaps federal aid, perhaps achievement scholarship or Michigan Achievement Scholarship and other sources to go towards room and board, books and supplies, and it really helps to divide and conquer the cost of going to school. So TIP can be a significant resource for students. At private colleges in Michigan, there are a number of private schools that have 1-year certificates and 2-year associates. That's the focus of phase 1 TIP. But it's limited in value to between $3,600 and $3,700 at a private school in Michigan. And so that normally ends up being about 15% or so of their tuition costs, where at a community college or one of the 5 public schools, it is full tuition full standard tuition and quite a bit of their majority of their fees. So you can find more tip information out here on our website, directly on the program page, into the fact sheet, or follow the tip link out on the Understanding Your Award Letter. So that's a couple of different ways that you can get to the tip information on our website. Let me take a quick look at Q&A. Okay, looks like we've answered pretty much all of them that are open currently. If you have questions, please go ahead and put those out there. I think we're probably going to be near wrapping this up in the next 2 or 3 minutes. So if you have a question, please go ahead and ask that. And we'll try to answer that here. But I hope that we can kind of wrap this up about 7:15 this evening for you and keep it short. All right, I don't see any more questions being submitted. If you have questions, please feel free to email us. You can always reach us out on My Student Aid website. We have our contact information down on the bottom of every page. You can always reach us at the mistudentaid@michigan.gov email, or at our toll-free number. We have our customer care center. Our staff are friendly, personable. They will answer the phone and answer any question that you have about state aid, and or connect you to a resource that you may be looking for. They're very, very helpful. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to us either by email or by phone. Please spend a little time on our website, checking out that students and families tab at the top. A lot of good information on that page, and all there to help support students making good choices financially and for selecting an institution that is the right fit for them. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. Oh, I did see there's some questions coming in. Thank you. Yep, you're welcome. Thank you for the questions this evening. As far as questions go, I think we've answered all of them, and I'm going to wish you a good evening and enjoy the weekend coming up.